Hi, and welcome to the Jon Gaunt podcast, the Jon Gaunt broadcast, whatever you want to call it. Today, Keir Starmer is coming home. Do we want him? That's another question. The foreign jaunts are over for the moment. Let's face it, he's failed as this great statesman that they kept going on about, that he was suddenly an international statesman. He loved that. Like I said yesterday, because it was almost as if he was attempting to create a Maggie Thatcher Falklands moment. You know, when she was really out of favour, then the Falklands happened and everyone got behind her. I think Sir Keir thought that would happen with his foreign jaunt with Zelensky. Unfortunately for him, it didn't, because he might say the British people are behind Ukraine, and we are. We hate the fact that Russia went in there, and we gave homes and a refuge for a lot of those refugees, and will continue to do so. And we've poured loads of money in there. But the British people, in my personal opinion, do not want to be part of a peacekeeping force. They do not want to be the boots on the ground. And it would appear that the 18 European countries plus Canada, don't ask me why, but plus Canada don't want to be either. Only us and France have signed up to his coalition of the useless, right? So he's failed. And overnight, of course, Trump has won again. His tough negotiating style has meant that Zelensky is now coming to the table. The mineral deal will be signed and we can move forward. And I think we'll get peace. But the middle class, the MSM, they hate Trump. So anything he does, they're going to try and pull him down. The same with J.D. Vance. I've been thinking a bit more overnight about what Vance said. Maybe he did mean Britain. And if he did, he's wrong. But I'm not going to get worked up about it. That's hardly the most important thing at the moment. The most important thing is to get peace for the Ukraine. And the most important thing for Britain is to have a prime minister and a government that gets on top of our other problems. Let me just tell you the sort of things I'm talking about. If I miss anything, would you please write in a comment now and tell me? And by the way, Steve, the Baron Flight's coming to you in a moment. Here we go then. Southport, he's got to get on top of that because prevent didn't work. Rotherham, you know what I'm talking about there, the Muslim rape gangs, the Pakistani rape gangs, the illegal immigrants. He's got to get on top of the small boats. He hasn't. He's failed. And he'll use Ukraine as an excuse. And where's all the money coming from? And the manpower to do Ukraine? We want them on our borders. We should be doing what Trump has done. He's absolutely flooded that southern border. So the Mexicans and the Central Americans have realized they're not going to get through. That's what we've got to do, surely. Knife crime, gun crime. Terrible story today all over the internet and in the newspapers about another killing in London. Another young kid gunned down in broad daylight on the streets of London. MPs, they're getting in on the act now. What about that MP who beat up his constituent? He hasn't gone to prison. I want Starmer to be looking at that. We've got a crumbling economy. Rachel Reeves today. How on earth is she the Chancellor? She's now basically tearing up her budget and basically going to blame the disabled and take loads of benefits from them to make up for the shortfall, which is only there just like the £22 billion black hole because of her and Starmer's incompetence. Rising unemployment. The NHS is still a disaster zone. Rachel Reeves lying on her CV. And then Lord Ali and the freebies. So there's the trivial and there's the very important issues. But why on earth is Starmer not getting on top of them? And now he has to. There's some suggestion he might go over to see Trump with Zelensky. Why does he need to go? He's not part of the deal. The deal is between Zelensky and Trump. And likewise, I don't see why Zelensky has to be at the meeting when they decide to talk to Putin. Let's just get on top of it. Baron Flight says, what about the other car attack the other day in Germany, Mannheim, wasn't it? When are people going to wake up to this threat? I think that's true. If you're going to have a summit, Baron Flights, of the top European leaders and Canada, then surely you've got to discuss Allah Akbar, haven't you? You've got to discuss these people who are living amongst us, either recently arrived or been here for ages, who want to kill us. Starmer must come back and he has to hit the ground running because his popularity is at an all-time low. Do you agree with me or disagree? This is the Jon Gaunt podcast. It's available on Jon Gaunt TV. It's on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and Facebook. You can get my podcast everywhere on Apple. If you listen on the podcast, but you want to see the visual in widescreen, feel free to either watch when I'm doing the actual live show, which is what I'm doing now, completely live, unscripted, or watch the repeat afterwards. Yesterday, we got record figures. I want to thank you for that. Thank you very, very much indeed. But today's the day where I'm throwing it open to you. I need your views. What's the priority? I don't know if you've seen the little picture I've done of Starmer surrounded with papers, and he's got a to-do list. It's a huge list. And I'm no longer going to take the BS, oh, we were left all this by Labour, because that's rubbish. You've got to get on and fix the problems, Sir Keir. Stop jaunting around the world. Leave the Ukraine. We've said where we stand on it now. Most of the people of this country do not agree with you, by the way. We are not behind you. I'm certainly not behind any British feet in Ukraine. I'll just be straight with you. And also, Zelensky, he brought a lot of this upon himself. Trump has stood firm. So has J.D. Vance. And what's Zelensky doing now? He's crawling back to them. He'll probably even be wearing a suit when he goes. And rightly so show some respect for the office of the President of the free world. If you disagree with me, please write up a comment as well. Here we go then. Steve says, hi, John. Keir Starmer couldn't save himself in a sinking boat. So what chance does he have of saving our great country? Answer, zero chance. It's time for change. Cheers. Well, there'll be no change for another 4 and a bit years, my friend, unless he starts getting MPs deserting him. Unless. The Baron Flights, I'm going to make a prediction. At some point, the security services will have to airlift Keir Starmer from number 10. Thank you very much. And Emma Barr, hello, Emma. Nice to hear from you, one of my oldest listeners. Great to hear from you again, John. Thank you very much indeed. Right, if you want to join in, feel free at any point, put up a comment and I'll come to you. And the comments are really important. And don't forget, if you like what I'm doing, please press the like button on YouTube or on Twitter. Reshare everything I'm doing. It all helps the algorithm and it helps build momentum and the audience. Ashley Watson-Jones, he's getting us kicking off. Was that a lady? I'm not sure. First job is immigration. I think you're right. Because if we look at the Sun today, I've just done this at random, right? I went on to find out one of the stories that I'd read earlier today about some killings, right? And a paedophile. And then I've just looked at the front page now. Listen to this. This is the front page of their internet. Thick Fiend, one of the UK's worst rapists who drugged and taped victims, may have attacked 60 women. This was a PhD student. He's from China. He's been raping British women. How? Why? When did he come to the country? Are we going to get on top of the other rapes he's obviously committed? What do you make of him? And then what are we going to do? We're going to put him in prison and then he'll be released. We should send him back to the Chinese. I reckon they'd probably have a good way of dealing with him. By the same token, there's another story, front page of the Sun. Fiends who raped vulnerable girls and referred to them as fresh meat are jailed. They did this years ago up north. 2 of them. One's from the Congo, and I can't remember where the other one's from, but they're both not British citizens. They're part of the grooming gangs. And this is horrendous, this. They met one of the girls, and they raped loads of girls, groomed loads of girls. But one of them, they groomed, and she was in a children's home. And then they had sex with her one of them had sex with her on the first night. Not sex. He raped her. Because somebody under 16 cannot consent to sex. So that's what happened. He raped them. And then they referred to these girls, these young, vulnerable girls, as fresh meat. It's sickening. I think I told you about this when I was in care for a short time back in the when would that be? The late 70s. I saw this happening, 75, 76, 77. There was girls in there who were being pimped out and people were turning a blind eye to it. And then if they complained to the police turned a blind eye. And even now, there's people who think these girls deserved what happened to them. And then there's the young lad in London yesterday who got shot down in the street. I mean, London is just stab city, isn't it? It's just completely out of control. But what else would you expect when you got Citizen Kant in charge? That guy, Khan, he is partly or mostly responsible for a lot of the crime we've got there because he hasn't come down tough. He could have done what Bill Bratton and Mayor Giuliani, I know he's a bit sort of tired at the moment, in New York did. They clamped down on it. Broken window philosophy. Bang. Hard deterrence. But I'm telling you, why should those two fiends who were raping those young girls and calling them fresh meat, why aren't they swinging? Why aren't they in our country? Why are we going to put them up? Did you know there's 13,000 foreign criminals infesting our prison system at the moment? Keir Starmer needs to get tough. Let's have some tough leadership, Keir. Or what are you afraid of? The Muslim rape gangs needs to be finally finished. It needs to be stamped down on hard. Likewise, this Chinese student. He's come here. He's abused our hospitality. He's raped loads of women. Raped them. Not only raped them, drugged them, raped them. I'm saying he needs to be deported. We need to get a system. The Chinese would kill him if they sent him back. Good. Whereas we've got a position where there's one the other day who'd been abusing people, and they said, we can't go back because then his daughter wouldn't have a father figure. What? Or what about the chicken McNuggets one? She doesn't like foreign chicken McNuggets. I mean, the world has gone bonkers. Starmer, you need to get a grip, because I know, and most of the people watching this show today or listening to it would agree with me, you've been running away from our problems. You've been running away and parading on the international stage. Well, let's face it, your coalition of the willing was really the coalition of the useless. It's achieved nothing. If you just kept quiet, when Trump booted Zelensky out of the White House, it was clear that Zelensky would have to crawl back and accept what Trump is saying. Now, you might say that's bullying, you might say it's unfair, but what I can't understand is the way the whole of the media, the establishment media, that's why you can't watch that rubbish anymore or read those newspapers. They all ganged up on Trump and J.D. Vance. Then J.D. Vance says something, and if they think, there's just a minuscule criticism we can make of that and we can expand it, they do it. So suddenly Trump and Vance are the villains. No, the villain is Putin, who went into Ukraine. And then you got daft idiots who say, well, the way to solve it is Russia will have to pull out. Well, it's not quite as easy as that, is it? Sometimes you have to live in the real world. And what has happened. Let Trump do a deal. But see, it suited Starmer. And I actually believe it would have suited him to send British troops. I bet he was already practicing for the photo in a tank. You know, the classic Maggie Thatcher with the scarf, and John Major did it as well. He looked a right tosspot. But they all do it. They want to glory in war, but they don't want to send their sons. They don't want to send their... There was that guy, Dan Hodges, who writes for the Daily Mail. He's Glenda Jackson's son, right? Wonderful actress. But he's just a twat. Today he's saying anybody who doesn't believe in boots on the ground doesn't believe in security for Ukraine, and is therefore basically a traitor. You what? Or is not patriotic? No. We've shed too much blood. I admitted yesterday that I was wrong to back the Gulf War. I was conned, and I ain't getting conned again. Let's go to your comments, please. The car attack in Germany, that was the Baron flights. Immigration, says Ashley Watson Jones. Do you agree? That's the priority. Simon Hunt says, afternoon, John. Excellent question from Sir David Davis at PMQs today. Yet I didn't detect any change in that human rights lawyer's stance regarding the unwarranted persecution of Northern Ireland veterans. Now, that's another disgrace, isn't it? I hope the forces community and any possible reservists who could be deployed to Ukraine noticed this lack of backing by this awful Labour administration. Do your duty, and this PM may still prosecute you at a later date. Absolutely. I agree with you. We don't want our troops to be going rogue. We don't want killings left, right, and centre. But if you're in the SAS and you're sent in to do something really difficult, you're not going to play by the Queensberry rules. Can we all just grow up? And the same in Ireland, right? Don't necessarily assume the IRA are the victims. Please. What kind of cockeyed system are we living in? By the way, I actually believe that Ireland, the island of Ireland, should be united. But it's a bit more difficult. I can say that. But then to get to that, you'd have to have more or less ethnic cleansing. So you have to accept where we are. And we have to try to live together. And we need our leaders to be tough. That's what we're talking about. Roseth says, Starmer is stupid and you can't fix stupid. I know where you're coming from. Second job that he should do, says Ashley, invest even more in the armed services. Protect the UK first and foremost. Keep our noses out of things that don't affect us. I think you're right, Ashley. I mean, there is an argument that Ukraine could affect us if you believe that Putin is going to go on the rampage through Europe. I don't think he is. And if we can find this money now, why couldn't we find this money before? Why couldn't we find the money for our own defense before? Why did it have to be Trump telling us we've got to do it? Ursula von der Leyen, or whatever her name is, that woman in the AEU, I read it again. It's 800 billion pound or euros. She's just found down the back of the settee, sort of thing. And she's saying all the European nations should use that money to strengthen defence. I really don't want to be rude, but I can understand why Donald Trump's a little bit peed off. Why weren't we using that money before? Why were we relying on the largesse of the American nation? It's wrong. Trump is correct about that. We should be paying our fair share. And you know what's going to happen? Overnight, he's also said, I don't think we should be in charge of NATO anymore. He doesn't want to be the chair or the boss of NATO. He wants to be out of NATO. And this is because of the meddling and the stupidity of the so-called coalition of the willing, which came down to two countries, France and us. Germany, strongest economy, massive country right next to Ukraine, effectively, certainly nearer than us. They're not going to take part. What is Starmer doing? Can you concentrate on what we need in this country? Let's strengthen our armed forces. And how can Starmer have the barefaced cheek to say he wants to protect the borders of Ukraine from Russia, but he can't even protect our own borders? It's a joke. It's a sick, sick joke. Ashley Watson Jones says the third job Starmer should do is buy Jon Gaunt a coffee. Oh, that should be job number one, surely. Yeah, he's joking, because if you'd like to support me, if you like the work I'm doing, it's all self-financing this at the moment. You can buy me a coffee. You see all the names of the people underneath if you're watching on video. It's from £5 upwards. Lots of people put in 15 quid, 3 coffees. And basically that means it goes towards production of these podcasts and keeps me from having to sit outside Sainsbury's singing Scooby-Dooby-Doo, big issue. Right? We're done really well to get where we are now. Live shows now. Soon it'll be live phone-ins, and there'll be guests as well. But I've got so much to say at the moment. Simon says, the one thing none of the media have picked up on is this. As a veteran, I obviously have. What's that, Simon? I need that comment. Where's the rest of the comment? We should do a French Foreign Legion type arrangement, John. This is Chopper, MK50. If all these migrants want to come here, they should do 5 years in the army if they want citizenship. And then there can be 2 Keir's boots on the ground. Maria Mokum, just more, Maria Oakham, sorry, Facebook. Just more lies, John, just more lies. Why would Starmer, says Leocano Nevada, want to fix what he has created in the UK? Well, to be fair, it's not just Keir Starmer. I read a thing today about Rishi Sunak, who said, "Oh, I really regret that using the phrase, I'm going to stop the boats." Hey, Rishi, with your half-mast trousers, you've got a lot more to regret than just that, you plonker. This is the establishment class, the political class, who have created this problem, no matter which party they're in. And that's why, if you notice, not one newspaper has come out and said, no, we don't want to go to Ukraine. You notice they haven't really done many vox pops on News at 10 or even on GB News. Where's the dissenting voices saying, we don't want another foreign adventure? We are not behind. And tell me if I'm wrong. I genuinely believe the British public do not want to see one drop of British blood shed in Ukraine. That doesn't mean that we don't believe they've got a just fight. I think what it also means is we want Zelensky to grow up and accept the deal. And I think the media this past week have been absolutely outrageous. Peter Stewart says Trump has certainly woken them up. You're right, Pete. Simon, do you think that everyone in the elite vilified Trump because he's not a Davos bitch? Yes, Simon. Yeah, I do. He's not part of their cozy club. He's got so much money, and then he's surrounded by people like Elon Musk. He doesn't need to be part of that WEF or the Davos mob. He doesn't need to be, and he doesn't want to be. He just doesn't want to be. And that's what I liked about Trump, even in the first time when he got elected. He's somebody who's saying, I'm going to do this. And then he does what it says on the can. And that's why the politicians don't like him. That's why they look down their snooty noses on the BBC and on Sly News. They don't like him. And then they say, oh, he's unpredictable. Well, I don't think he's unpredictable. I think he's absolutely predictable. I think when he said to Zelensky, get out, I could have predicted he would have done that. You showing me disrespect. Wouldn't you rather have that than all the flim-flam and the BS? I would. Dave Holland, how's the diet ended up? What are you on about, Dave? Have you sat there for today just to come on and make a stupid comment like that? If it helps you and makes you feel better, I nearly died recently. Is that? Do you want me to say that? He should pay 2.5%, says Peter Stewart. I think you're right, Peter. I think we should actually be putting more than that into defence. But I think if we hadn't upset Trump, we wouldn't be in this position now. The media haven't picked up on Starmer's non-committal response to protecting veterans from malicious, politically motivated prosecutions. No, I now understand what you mean, Simon. Yeah, well, he won't have done because he's part of that class. He's part of the human rights lawyer class, isn't he? Huh? Where if you can get somebody off on a technicality, you do. That's what he does. That's what he did. That's how he makes his money, or did make his money. Yeah, and of course, there's big questions. The Savile question. Well, we could do loads of that, but we'll leave it for the minute. But let's go back to Southport. What's he done about that? What's he done about that Axel guy? 52 years in prison, but no, he should be swinging. Let's have a referendum on bringing back the death penalty. I see Trump's done that in the States. If you're a foreigner and you commit a crime like that, you're going to be in the chair. What's the problem? And what's the problem if we send somebody back if they're human rights? You know, how many more Jamaicans have got to go gay before we realise that they are clearly playing the system? Come over here, they're like rapists. Not all Jamaicans, of course, you know what I'm talking about, but the criminal ones. And then they say, oh, no, I'm gay. I can't go back because I'll be persecuted. It's nonsense. Knife crime. His only answer to knife crime was to blame Amazon. Knives don't kill people. People kill people. Guns don't kill people. The people with the gun kills the people. And also, how many times, I'm not saying in this latest incident, did we find out later that the victim was also involved in gang warfare or in drugs? And what are we doing about drugs? So you have got a very, very busy inbox, Sir Keir Starmer. But you've got to start making some clear-cut decisions. Your popularity would go up overnight if you suddenly put troops at Dover and even now we're such friends with Macron. Why can't we have our boys on the beaches of Dunkirk? Why don't we stop them coming? Why don't we work together? And then maybe we send them somewhere to be checked out, assessed, but we pay for it, but also France pays for it. And a certain proportion we have and they have. Why can't we just work together? Because I know, at the moment it feels like France just go, on your way, off you go. Yeah. I thought that's what we're in the European community for. We got no benefits from that whatsoever. And have you noticed, underneath all this, it feels like Starmer's trying to get us back in the EU through the back door. Why? It's not what the British public want. It is not what the British public want, is it? And we've got to be tougher. I mean, I don't mean this as a deterrent. Those two people, the one from the Congo and the other, who have been grooming and then raping young children. I'm sorry. I'm not saying if we executed them, that would stop other people doing it. I don't think it would. But it would get rid of those beasts, wouldn't it? If it was a rabid dog, what would you do? I just think we're crazy. I just think we're crazy. And we should accept other cultures in our country. But the dominant culture has to be our Christian or religious beliefs, what our society is based on. And dare I say it, our language. So let's start cutting translators out. Let's have a war on government waste. Let's make sure people who come and live here learn the language. Let's help them learn the language. Let's have the classes. But there can be no excuse for somebody being here all this time and not learning to speak, read and write English. And by the way, I feel like that about people who go and live in Spain. If I was to go and live in Spain permanently, I would learn, and I'm useless at languages, I would have to learn. Italy, I've always thought about wanting to live in Italy. I'd have to learn. Of course, I want to be part of their culture. Don't want to lose my British culture, but I don't want to live in an enclave separate to those people. Do you? And no one should be able to do that here. And the MP who beat up his constituents, why did he get two-tier justice? Why is he not in prison now? And when he did get put down, it was only like for 10 days. He wouldn't even grown a beard, would he? It's hardly the jail diaries of Oscar Wilde or a Papillon, Devil Island situation. Papillon, Papillon, we love you. I love that movie. I absolutely adore that movie. The second one was rubbish, and the second book wasn't very good either. But have you ever read Papillon, the book? Oh, that's good. That's as good as the film. That's as good as the film. Chagos, there's one. Simon Hatt says, follow the money with Chagos. It's the only reasonable explanation. I hadn't even thought about that, Simon. That's something else he needs to get on top of. You're right. But he wants it to go. He wants to give it to Mauritius, our land. Then he wants Mauritius to charge us for it. What kind of cocked up system's that? Is that what the British people want? I think not. If you got a view on any of the things we're coming on to, let's hear it. And of course, what is going to happen now, and this will be another massive smokescreen, Rachel Reeves is going to cut benefits. There's going to be a big hoo-ha about that, and some of it will be totally justified, but it will hide the real problems that they're not addressing. It's like the farmers. They're desperate for the farmers to kick off. I actually think the farmers are playing a cute game. I think if the farmers went down there with muck spreaders and spread shit all over number 10 Downing Street or Whitehall, then I think they'd get really heavy. Do you remember when the Countryside Alliance were attacked by our police? It's a disgusting episode. Whereas the Palestinian freedom fighters or the Hamas supporters, not all of them, but some of them, they can do what the hell they want in our capital city. And what do? We cover up and protect our statues of our heroes. And then, of course, we've got Winston Churchill. What's his name? Starmer goes to Trump and says, great that you've got the bus back in there. He doesn't mention the fact that he's just taken down all the portraits of our heroes from number 10 and replaced them with a bigger hero, Yvette Cooper. You couldn't make this up. Trump has just said that English is the first language now. Yeah, he said that overnight, Peter. You're right. Maria Oatman's come up and said, don't forget the stupidity of the Chagos Islands, John. Yeah, good one. Ajit Chambers, the sheep can't figure it out. Well, again, that's kind of been proved just recently, hasn't it? Because a load of people now on X and on Facebook are saying, if you don't support the idea of us putting boots on the ground, you're not patriotic. What? And a load of these people are lefties, they're left-wingers who are normally slagging off our troops, right? Now they're all patriotic. Why? Because they want to get at Trump. They don't support our lads whatsoever. But that Dan Hodges, what's he on about? I'd love to see him on the front line. Well, I don't know if he's got any kids or his kids. I just think it's ridiculous. The NHS, where did he start with that? I mean, they saved my life. They saved my life when I had sepsis, and I won't hear a bad word against them. They're fabulous in that position. But there's obviously waste. But what we've got to do is take the political football out of the NHS. The parties have got to work together. But again, it suits them. This isn't a go at Starmer, it's a go at all of the politicians. The nightmare stories of your granny or your mum waiting in a corridor, they quite like that. It's a way of just tightening the screw on all of us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Simon says, I don't support boots on the ground in Ukraine. I served 10 years in the British Army. Am I not patriotic, John? Well, you wouldn't be, mate, according to Dan Hodges. But he's an idiot anyway, so I don't really know why I'm talking to him. Peter Stewart says, NHS saved me too. Yeah. Well, I can never, ever forget what they did for me. News Views UK. Good to see you on screen, Gaunty. It's been years since I heard you last on Talk Sport. That was about 13 years. Thank you very much. You've become a member, haven't you? Oh, that's something else. I just need to mention that. If you want to be a member of my YouTube community, right, and then you get advance warnings of when the shows are and the videos and the rest of it, you can join. It's only 99p, or become a super member, super fan, $2.99. So then when you make a comment on these things, you get like a little badge that shows that you're a loyal fan. You might want to do it, you might not want to. If you do, it'd be much appreciated. And I get most of that money, 70% of it, I think, but the rest of it goes to YouTube because they need the cash. Right, what else do I want to talk about? So to finish off with, Rachel Reeves. Rachel Reeves. She's got away with murder, and now she's going to hit the disabled and the elderly. Look at the winter fuel allowance. They hit the most vulnerable, don't they? Who they think won't answer back. And like the farmers are, they won't come up to town, da-da-da. It's a disgrace. And if it was a Conservative government doing it, all of the yippee, yappy, yippee, yippee, yappy, yappity, middle class morons of the mainstream media would be up in arms. But no, they're not. They're not supporting. It's wrong to take away the winter fuel allowance. It's wrong to do the inheritance tax on farmers. Put the level up massively. Same with the fuel allowance. So it's not capturing everybody. And the amount of money, this is the thing I don't understand about Labour or Keir Starmer. Maybe he likes sadomasochism. I don't know. Because it's the sense that, hear me out before you quote me on that, the sense that he kind of drops himself in it so that we can all give him a good kicking. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? For the amount of money he's making with the winter fuel allowance, he's an idiot. He could have just avoided that. Simon Hatt says, I've just subscribed to your channel, John. Thank you very, very much indeed. But I don't want Rachel Reeves to get away with her lies and her imaginative CV or rewriting. I also want to know more about Lord Ali and what he was getting for buying the suits, the Taylor Swift tickets, the £2,500 glasses. Look at my glasses. They're, I think they're £1.29 in Savers. What shop that is, right? That's what I only need them for reading. I've only got them on now for the screen. I don't need them for watching telly or being out and about or watching the football. I'm not mentioning Coventry City again. I keep getting slagged off for that as well. I was wrong about Frank Lampard. All right, I've admitted it. Super Frank. We'll see what happens at the end of the season. But I want to know what's going on. And all of these things, slippery, slimy, Starmer gets away from. These things happen. He gets a kick in for a day or two, but he's still in power. Still in power. This is good. Simon Hatt says, this is the thing. Government of change, yet it stinks just like the Tories. You said it all, mate. Are you still in Coventry, Gaunty? Yes, I am. Peter Stewart says, my boots were not on the ground because I was sitting in a chieftain tank. I salute you, Peter. Well done. That's me finished. I'm just saying now, though, Starmer needs to look at the domestic agenda. And we want no flim-flam. We want no liberal, woke nonsense. We want some hard, well-defined rules, don't we? Starmer's desperate for a war. I can't stand the bloke. He's a menace to society, says Newsviews. I think you're right, mate. He did want a war because it would just divert attention, won't it? Where we're watching the body bags coming back to Bryce Norton, we're not going to be complaining about other things that seem trivial in comparison, like old age pensioners dying of the cold or farmers. Do you see what I'm trying to get at? This is all part of a bigger game, isn't it? Anyway, that's me finished. I'll be back tomorrow to do another show, maybe a little bit later. I'm not sure. Thanks for joining in. If you can help me, then buy me a coffee. buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt, or subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's $2.99 or 99p if you want to go for the cheap version. Thank you for that. Chopper says, thanks to the show, Gaunty. Keep up the good work. Well, I will. And thank you for supporting me. And thank you for me getting me here. Because I'm telling you, the clampdown's coming, as the Clash sang, working for the clampdown. What's happening is they're suppressing free speech and they're suppressing freedom of expression. The newspapers used to always have some sort of anti-slant in there. Not anymore. Not anymore. Everyone's scared of their shadow. They're scared of Ofcom, the radio regulator. They're scared of the human rights lawyers. After the riots in the summer, they're scared of persecution on Facebook and on social media. The only people who aren't scared are the MPs. They'll just say and do whatever they want and carry on shagging their rent boys. That's how it feels to me. Maybe I've got it wrong. Maybe I'm unfair. You tell me. Right, I'm back tomorrow. Until then, if you've got kids, can you give them a kiss? Can you give them a hug? Can you please tell them that you love them? See you soon. Cheers.